My name is Susan Perreault, and I'm the director of the Washington Women's Business Center. WWBC is a program of Business Impact Northwest in partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration. It is my pleasure to be here at the Washington BizFair and to present to you package and price services to maximize value. Business Impact Northwest is a nonprofit community development financial institution dedicated to serving underserved communities. The mission of Business Impact Northwest is to grow businesses that create jobs in underserved communities, working with underserved and underbanked entrepreneurs. We provide no-cost and low-cost coaching, classes, and access to capital to community small businesses with an emphasis on working with traditionally underserved populations, low, moderate income earners, women, BIPOC, veterans, immigrant, and members of the LGBTQIA+ community. Our lending guidelines are more flexible than traditional banks because of our community impact mission. We assist small businesses to launch and grow by providing free one-on-one business coaching, as well as a range of low-cost and no-cost training, both virtual and on demand, as well as loan readiness and networking events. We also are a flexible and compassionate nonprofit lender, offering startup capital, growth capital, and lines of credit. In addition to the Washington Women's Business Center, Business Impact Northwest also hosts the Veterans Business Outreach Center, providing training and financing opportunities to entrepreneurs from the U.S. military community, and the Food Business Resource Center, providing training, coaching, and resources and connections to food business entrepreneurs. Over the last 18 plus months, we've been dealing in the small business community with a life-changing event, both personally and in business as well. And there have been so many external factors that have been beyond our control. And as we think about a small biz comeback, we want to compare your business model pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. What are the changes that you made in order to make it through to this point in the pandemic? Did you change the way you were reaching your consumer? Did you rethink how your offerings meet the changing needs of consumers? And as you are looking at pre-pandemic business model to post-pandemic model, what are some of the things that you're going to keep? And what are some of the things that you want to revert back to and that were successful before COVID? And you're really going to be thinking about how does your organization fit into the market post-pandemic, which is very important. And what you may be really focusing on is how to revitalize that consumer experience to help revitalize your business as well. So as a service business, what you're really doing is creating value or an outcome. And that's really what your customer is paying you for. So you really need to be able to create value in the customer's mind. And what is it what things are most important when people are thinking about value for your product or service? How much price sensitivity is there? How are you going to differentiate yourself to create value in the customer's mind? So currently, you have a pricing model, and there's some that are very traditional, and very often the pricing models are there are certain ones that are most prevalent in industries as well. So you may be an industry where cost plus hourly rate is the norm, which is not unusual in service businesses, or project based. That could be something. So what we'd like to do is just define the most basic and then talk about value-based pricing, which is maybe a new concept for some of you. So in some cases, service businesses such as childcare and catering have significant costs to consider. In others cases, the biggest expenses are time, such as consultancy or freelancing. So when we're thinking about pricing techniques, these are the ones that are most often used. So we have hourly rate. You have a rate for what you charge for your business, for providing the service. You let the customer know what the hourly rate is. You track the hourly rate, the hours worked, the consumer pays you for the number of hours. From a consumer's point of view, very often they're really focused on the number of hours, because that's how the more hours you take, the more expensive it becomes. So it really focuses a lot, the consumer, on price, very much so. Cost plus hourly rate, very similar. Only the consumer is paying for the materials and then the hourly rate. Project or job rate. This can be wonderful because you can estimate the number of hours it's going to take, and maybe the materials. You're going to package it as an end result. So here you're really starting to focus on the outcome. However, there can be some pitfalls to project or job rate, as you may know. One of them is basically a project creep, where you've contracted to perform a certain service, and then add-ons become, they ask for a little bit more of this and that, and can you do this? And if you're not charging them for the add-on services, very often what can happen is you're doing more work for less money. Another pitfall of project or job rate is underestimating the amount of time it takes, and then you are working more hours for less money. And then we also have the estimate, which is where that's just what as you well know, you estimate the job, you tell them what it's going to be, you have to track the hours in progress, and very often you're updating the client on that as it goes through the process. And you are going to bill them at the end based on the actual performance, a number of hours. All of those really have a lot of focus on the rate and the hourly rate. And very often a customer is really focused on the cost. In value-based, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the consumer from the mindset of what they're paying for, the task that you're performing, and looking at the value of the outcome. The material that I'm going to be covering on value-based pricing is from Alan Weiss. That's WEISS. And the book is called Value-Based Fees, How to Change and Get What You Are Worth. So with value-based pricing, we're really trying to focus on our competitive advantage. What makes us different? You may think of it as your value proposition or differentiator. So first is you want to base it on your competitive advantage. What is the perceived value of your service, your company, your organization? And the main goal is really to better align the fees and pricing to the value delivered. As I said, we're going to focus on the outcome, not on the task, not on the input. And this means we need to focus on the buyer's needs and desires. What is their interest? This is a way we can start to take the focus away from price and put it on the value or the benefit to the customer. And the key is really establishing value with your client. So what are some examples of setting, if you're going to start setting your fee primarily on the perceived value of the customer? So one that I'm going to give you that's not on here first is, let's say that I'm a bookkeeper and I specialize on working with people in the pet industry. I work with veterinarians, I work with dog groomers, dog walkers, etc. So I'm talking to a dog groomer, and I already know what the hourly rate is that he or she charges to groom a standard dog. And so when I'm talking to them about bookkeeping services, what I really want them to start thinking about is how many hours a week or a month do they spend doing their bookkeeping? And they may tell you 3 hours a week, they may tell you 2 hours a week, they may tell you, 6 hours a month, 10 hours a month, whatever that is. So if they spend 2 hours a week, we'll say an average of 10 per month. And we know they charge $50 per hour for grooming. We know that those 10 hours equate to $500 in revenue. So that's the value of your bookkeeping service to that particular customer. Now, maybe they're not motivated by money, but maybe they're motivated by having more time to do with a hobby or be with family, etc. So when you're talking to a customer, to them, 10 hours of bookkeeping, that whatever you're going to charge for that service, it may be worth it to them because that means 10 hours of time that they get to reclaim. So the value to the customer is really going to be, could be quite different, but the better that you understand the value to them, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's more increased sales, all of those things, that will help change the conversation from cost per hour to the outcome. So what are some other opportunities? So these are 3 other examples. So you have a customer that's having the sales rates are closing rates are very low. They need to get them up. So that means they've got qualified potential customers, but their sales consultants are having difficulty closing the sale. So whatever the cost is to generate a lead, they're losing revenue. And chances are, once that potential client is gone, it isn't closed, they may not have that opportunity again. So from a perspective of the client, that's their focus. I need my close rates to go up to increase revenue. And I know how much it costs for me to get every sales lead. And every time we lose a lead, I know what the revenue that client could represent if we had transitioned them and closed the sale. So when I'm looking for someone to help me with that, that's when I want to focus. That's the focus that if I run sales training sessions, that's the focus I want to have. What would it cost for every sale that you don't close or lead that you lose? How much revenue does that represent? That's the value of my sales training sessions. If I can help you increase your sales closure rate by 15%, how much would that generate in sales revenue? What would that represent? Let's say that, and then boy, we can think about this now. Everyone's saying it's hard to find employees. So there's a client out there they need to increase the retention of new hires. And they think, so they're having really high turnover rate, which means the cost of recruiting and interviewing and onboarding and all of that, they can understand how much that costs them. So if I have an organization that redesigns performance evaluation so I can help them retain new clients because they're truly evaluating them and understanding what their needs are so they can train them properly and keep them on board instead of having them turnover, that the value is really what is the cost if they don't retain their new hires? What does it cost them, the organization? And then if you have a fleet of service personnel and the response times are down. Well, if I have a fleet of service providers and my response time is down, that means I have less satisfied clients, which means there's less likely to get referrals, and I can't service as many clients. So that means our sales revenues are down. So there are lots of things there to consider. But number one is, how much revenue are they losing because they're underperforming? And if they lose a client, how much does that represent to them in lost revenue? So the service provided is someone that's going to study the technological needs of their service personnel to make sure they have everything they need to be responsive and improve response time in the field. But if you're talking to that customer, it's all about what is the value, lost revenue, lost clients. What is the value to them? So when you think about your product or service, really think about what is the value that your service represents to them. What does it enable them to do? Is it increased sales? Is it more revenue, more time? What is it? So that's when you're really going to establish value. So what is value to your customer? And you may have to ask some questions. So if you're trying to establish value with your customer, Some of the things that some questions you might have would be, what if they did nothing? What would be the impact? If they don't hire you to help improve response time or, close sales closure, what would that mean? What would the impact mean if they just kept things as they are? If we did go forward with hiring, what would you be able to do now that you can't do now? What would you be able to do differently in your organization? Could you bring on more salespeople? Could you bring on more service providers to provide, could you expand your territory? What would you be able to do? So that also leads into what would the effect be on revenues or your sales or your profits if we proceed with this service. If you're going to be doing a project-based service, you might want them to think about what would be the three greatest impacts as a result of the success of this project. And that gets them starting to think about the value of success if they hire you for this project. Maybe they have to report to someone. They're not the owner. And so what will your boss's reaction be to this success if you go ahead and we have a successful service provided? And then perhaps you're looking at what does it mean for them personally? That could be for the owner, or perhaps it could even be for an employee. Maybe it would help them with their career advancement. So you really need to establish value in the buyer's mind. And you may have to ask some questions to do that. The more you know your industry, the more you know your clients and what their objectives are, and what the value is, the fewer questions you'll have to ask. So once you understand the value for your customer, now we need to establish why you're unique. And there's nothing here that's probably going to be too earth-shattering, I don't think. But there are going to be questions that you're going to think, if you're putting on your client, the hat of your client, these are some questions that they're going to be thinking about as they're looking at you as a provider. Does this firm have the expertise I need? So you need to establish yourself as the expert, set yourself apart. Do they demonstrate experience solving problems similar in nature to mine? So do you have the expertise that you can show them or demonstrate to them that you have experience solving their problem or filling their need? Do they have an existing or unique perspective about problems or projects like mine? So with your experience, what would you be able to differentiate yourself that gives you a unique perspective on how to solve that problem? And do you have the staff who have demonstrated that they have been able to successfully complete similar challenges or projects? And when you're looking at the competition, you want to know, where do you fit in? And when you do your research, you want to compare value, not just price. And that means, service, what is their service? What services do they provide? Can you get an idea what their response level is, or responsiveness, their expertise, and maybe the consistency of delivery? So these are things you want to compare yourself to your competition as well. But when you think about your customer, they do have some choices. And this is just some basic information on competitive analysis. So you have your direct competitors. They offer similar services in a similar geographic area. And in this case, we're looking at wedding photographers in Seattle. So you can do research on your competitors and you can see what products they're offering, what their reputation is, what they focus on, certain types of weddings, certain geographic locations, except just destination weddings versus, local, etc. So you want to compare really do an analysis of yourself compared to your direct competitors. But do realize that your client could just not hire this service. So there are substitutes. And so in this case, maybe they have no pictures at all for the wedding. They have guests take pictures. Some of you may remember back in the day when you have the disposable cameras on the table. Maybe I'm dating myself a little here, but I think most of us can identify with that a little bit. Now everyone has a phone, so everyone's a photographer anyway. However, maybe there's a family member who acts as a photographer. So, and if you know your industry, you know how likely, what percentage of potential customers who contact you would go down this path. And then the thing you want to look at is the more exclusive you are, usually that equates to having fewer customers as well, competitors, excuse me. So it's really important to know what the competitive landscape is. You know how exclusive you are if you have fewer competitors. And then you want to differentiate yourself. And this is how you're marketing yourself. Why you? And so this can be everywhere from experience to referrals to packaging and pricing to added value services, all of these things. What makes you different? What is going to make you stand out? What are your differentiators? So this is really important that you do this analysis for yourself as you're looking at this process. And then there are different ways to differentiate yourself. So, and these are just a few. One of them that we're going to talk about is package and outcome. And that is, I think, is one of the best things to do. But you can do things that are a little bit more, trendy or gimmicky, So let's say that you're going to, you're a pain-free dentist. Or, we've seen the tax filings, a 100% refund tax. Maybe that's something you can offer. It's an offer you can't refuse. Or perhaps you can do the unexpected. As I said here, you're a financial planner, you have the car detailed while you're having the annual review. So it's really just thinking about what opportunities there are. Is there a guarantee that you can offer that's a little stronger than the average in the industry? So there are many ways to differentiate yourself, and you've probably already thought of some of these. So now we're going to take away the focus from the hourly rate. We're going to focus on the value to the customer. And we know how to differentiate ourselves. How are we going to show that we are different? Why us? Why select your organization over another? Now we have to think about how do we bring clients on board? So the first thing is don't convince your current clients. You have clients, you're charging them in a certain rate right now in a certain manner. And the first thing you want to do is you want to invest in prospecting for ideal clients. So you really have to identify who is the ideal client. Who is the client that you don't need to try to convince, that needs your product, your service. So that's number one. Don't try to convince your clients. You want to invest in prospecting ideal clients. Number two, you want to define what an ideal client looks like. So who is your ideal client? You want to make sure that you want to be in alignment with the budget, what they value, and what they have to have. So make sure you can identify what the ideal client looks like. And then lastly, you want to target these high value clients and filter out anyone who isn't. So that would be the first step on onboarding, on bringing on clients onto value-based pricing. And then you need to prove your value. So perhaps you can start with a small project in an area that they're unhappy with and over deliver. This helps you build a relationship. So you may have to prove yourself. You really want to concentrate on the value you provide. As I said, if for 10 hours of bookkeeping, they can have 10 hours to do as they please, or they can generate 10 hours more revenue, which in the case of our dog groomer was $500 more revenue. So this takes away from price. What do you value? If they have higher sales retention or sales closure, that's the revenue part. You want to focus on that extra revenue. And when you do have the opportunity to provide service, you want to over deliver and be memorable. So the next time they need your product or service, you're the first go-to person. And then you do want to keep increasing your fees or pricing as you improve and deliver more value. And I don't know if it was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation when I was before when I was being introduced, but this PowerPoint presentation is available for download here at the BizFair. And so I find many people at this point say, okay, boy, I'm just really afraid. How do I do this? So where you are in the phase of your business can really help you determine when to do this. So we're going to go through 5 different key areas based on these different levels or phases of business. So if you're at the entry level, I mean, most of your business or your clients are friends and friends, family, former business, clients perhaps. And at this point, the business qualification is you accept almost anything. So your fee is really, the client may determine your fee at this point because you haven't established yourself. And sometimes you're really on the lower end of the fee level, and you're not, the profitability might be quite low if you're entering at the entry level of service delivery in your business. So you're more established, you're a going concern now. So now you're getting referrals and you're starting to do marketing within your early marketing, starting to bring in clients as well. You accept most business that comes your way. Maybe you plan to cut some out, the ones that are a little less profitable. You are maybe a little more flexible in your fee for fee integrity. Maybe you're a little flexible if someone says, oh, this person's offering a discount, you're matching perhaps, and your fee level is maybe below average or average for your industry. And the margins are small to average profit margins. The next level phase is going to be word of mouth. So this is where really you're getting your new business sources are coming from referrals and from your marketing. And they must be high margin with strong potential. So you're qualifying these leads on the business that you're going to take on. And then you determine value based on value-based fees, and it's firm. So this is when you start to transition to value-based pricing, where now you're going to charge based on the value to the customer. And your pricing, you get to be more firm now because you're doing this through marketing and referral. People are coming to you and asking you for business. So, and then your demand is a premium, it's above average, and now your margins start to become above average. The next step is when you become a brand. So not only you're just working off referrals now for your chief business sources, however, you also have a brand name that people start to recognize in the market. You are selective and you're only working with those that are aligned with the value-based pricing and are aligned with what you deliver for product or service. You maximize margins in every case. Your fees are very firm now and maybe not negotiating anymore at this point. There may be some negotiation, but you stand firm on what your value is. Your fee levels are far above average and firm, and you have very strong profit margins and maybe near the top in your market in the industry. And then the ultimate phase is where you're working with key buyers and clients that are seeking you out. These are the people, maybe you've got your wish list of potential clients. These are the ones now seeking you. You select only those of interest. You can be very selective on who you work with. Fee isn't discussed. You basically tell them what you charge, and that's what it will be. And your fees are at the highest level, and your margins are extraordinary. And getting to that ultimate level is where we'd all like to be. So value-based pricing in the early phase is a little more difficult to work with. Once you get to this word of mouth stage, that's when you can start to have more fee integrity. That does not mean you cannot attempt that at the lower levels. Just make sure that you are delivering the expertise that warrants the value-based pricing, because that really is one of those things to keep in mind. So as I mentioned, that was Alan Weiss is the author. So that's value-based pricing. So now we're going to look at packaging your service business. And this is information from the Small Business Administration. So as you already know, services are different. They're intangible. You have to be able to describe an outcome. It's, it's very often hard for a customer to think about it. They can't touch it. They can't feel it, but they can see the results. And it's hard for people to understand the value. So that's the consultant or the service provider dilemma. People need expertise that they don't understand. They don't know how to value. They don't know how to do it. And they don't have time to do it, so they think. So these are the dilemmas. And so what we need to do is we need to create or turn our service into so it's thought of like a product. So if someone doesn't understand, then we need to explain in concrete terms what it is the service is delivering. You need to deliver the outcome and the benefits. Concentrate on that. There may be an opportunity to demo or make sure they understand how knowledgeable you are, so they understand the value of the service you're providing. And then you need to be able to really differentiate yourself. So there are two categories when we're thinking about service packaging. So one is a package and one is what we call productize. So in the packages, we're getting to not selling hours, which we've been talking about. You're combining services in a logical block or a logical package. The package is an expected outcome. And everything that you need is included in the package, and there's a flat price. So an example of that would be that you're going to have a basic package and for car service. And that's very normal. Where you go in, this is what you're getting. These are all the things we're going to do, and this is what we're going to charge for you. It's a flat price right there. That's it. Now, that's very popular because I'm not a mechanic. I don't know what my car needs. I'm trusting you, if you've gained my trust, to package what my services are in a way that makes sense. So I have everything I need, and that's it. Now, these can be, if you're looking at productize, this is where you limit customization, where you turn something into something that you can sell the same thing over and over again to many people. In this case, it could be, we could say that you have a webinar and a book that you is a product package you've created. You've recorded the webinar, you have the book already created, and it can be available for on-demand viewing, and people can download the book, and you're selling that same thing over and over and over again, where you don't have to create more new material. It just sells it over and over again to many people. So why do you want to bundle or create a product package? Mainly it's that it's easier for people to understand. If I need kitchen remodel, I know all the things I might know what I need in general. I know what I want for an outcome, that's for sure. And I just want you to deliver the kitchen in the remodel that I want, with the materials that I want, with the appliances that I want, and the budget that we've agreed upon, and on the timeline. That's what I want. If you can do those things, I'm happy. I don't need to know the day-to-day and all the other decisions that have to be made. I am hiring you as a professional. So if you can make it turnkey and make it really tangible so you can describe the benefits, it makes it easier to explain, easier to sell. It's better to capture and position in the customer's mind so they understand it. And it can lower costs, especially if you're thinking about those things that you can sell over and over again once you've produced the actual product or the materials. So it also can save time on writing proposals, because you can have exactly what's in the package, and you can write that proposal is all ready. You can make some tweaks that are needed, but that's pretty much standard what you're going to deliver. And then also it reduces scope creep or project creep. So it's exactly what you've promised in the package is what you're going to deliver. And if someone does approach you with wanting more, then that's when you would just let them know that you do have an opportunity to say, hey, yes, I'll add that on for you. But if you do that at no charge, then my recommendation is when you are submitting the payment, the invoice for the package that they've purchased, you would put that added service as a line item with a value so they know what the value is. And then you would give them a discount or credit for that. So next time, if they need that product, that service, they know what it's going to cost. And also, you've already put in more value in the mind of the consumer as to what they've gotten for the price that they paid you. If you're not going to add it, if it's something outside the scope, then it's like, okay, actually, yeah, we can do that for you. However, this would be the additional cost. So that way, it really does reduce the scope creep or project creep, and it does help you be more profitable. And it really gives a greater perceived value to the customer. So some of the principles for packaging are, and this is right aligned with our value-based, focus on outcome, results, and deliverables. It's all about the value. You want to make sure you document your value proposition, your differentiator. What makes you different? Use flat or fixed pricing for primary packages. Use accessories of add-ons for variables. So if there's a base package, and then, which you can have at a flat fee for this package, then you can do add-ons or accessories as they desire more things. The thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about a package also is, if you're the professional and I'm the consumer, and I tell you what I need or what I want, and you tell me this package is going to deliver everything that I'm asking for, then I believe, and I hire you, that's what I expect the delivery to be. So just make sure that as you're creating a package, if you have promised an outcome, make sure that everything in the package is there that you need in order to create the outcome. Then if they ask for additional items, those are the accessories, those are the add-ons. It is very disappointing from the consumer point of view, the package has been presented as delivering the results that I'm asking for, the outcome. And then in the end, my service provider keeps asking me to pay, oh, well, that's not included, that's extra. So it's really important that you're very specific as to what the consumer will expect from the outcome. And then be crystal clear about the activities during the engagement. Identify key milestones and deliverables. So what are the progress dates, perhaps, and specify what you expect from the consumer who will participate in the activity. So is there anything you're going to need from your client or consumer to participate in this service? And if so, how much time and what would that expectation be? And then you can help support and increase client satisfaction by having checklists on delivery guides, anything that helps the consumer understand what's being delivered in the package. So offer solution to a problem or need. So these are ways to do this, and these are different. And I've already mentioned the kitchen remodel system. So the services remodeling. What are some of the objections or fears or problems that people have? People fear cost overruns when redoing their kitchens. They also look at timing, also not meeting a deadline. So your solution would be package a kitchen remodeling system. A hair salon, you want to look wonderful in the wedding, you have a wedding day makeover package. And then for computer programming, let's say that you have a service where you teach computer software, train people on how to use software. So some people get confused by implementation of new software. So you have perfect coaching. You blend of training and programming together so that they understand exactly what the program does. So if you're going to try to create a product, as I mentioned, this is going to be something that you've created that can be, there's really very little customization, and you can you can sell the same thing over and over and over again. So that's a productize. So you take an idea or a process and you limit customization, and you can do volume sales. As I said, you're teaching someone how to do something, you have a webinar on demand and a manual that they can download, and they buy that together. Very often we have service providers now that have a subscription so that people can go in and subscribe to using a service over by the month or by the year, by the quarter. And it's just makes it very nice because you have income stream, and you're basically having something that's delivered over and over again, that you're not having to create more product or content. And it's very limited in customization. And then as you're thinking about your service, think of filling the shelf. And then we've talked about this in packages. So understanding the value to your customer and what it provides, that's value-based pricing. And that's very important. But you also know that you have customers that come in at different price points, basically on what they can afford. And so especially when you're starting out, you want to make sure you're filling the shelf, where maybe there's a low price, no frills option for service. And this is a way that you could, maybe that's an intro where you're still not discounting what you do, but you're just offering a no frills version of it so that you're profitable, but you're offering them something they can afford that might meet the minimum need that they have right now. But it also is going to give you an opportunity to get your foot in the door and perhaps gain a new client. And then you'll have something on the high end, which is highly customizable, where everything is custom and your pricing is exactly based on that, where you're delivering the highest value and you have the most customization and personalization. So when you think about what you're offering, filling the shelf is a good idea, because then you have an opportunity to upsell. And if maybe, especially if you're not at the value-based pricing only, you're not at the highest level in a phase, where you have some fluidity, you're not fluid in your value, you're fluid in the package. And that can help make it so that you are more able to either upsell or fill a lower frill, a no frills need. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today. And as I mentioned, we offer free one-on-one business coaching, as well as a wide range of low-cost, no-cost training. So if you're interested, please contact us at WWBC at businessimpactnw.org. That is for everyone that's not a veteran. So even though it's a women's business center, we're open to all. If you're a veteran or are in current military or a military spouse, contact VBOC at VBOC at businessimpactnw.org. You have our phone number, 206-334-4330. And visit our website, businessimpactnw.org, to look at all of the offerings that we have, as well as we have resource pages, our calendar of events. We have an on-demand menu of webinars that we've provided, or services that we have available to you. So join us at businessimpactnw.org. So you can sign up for our free business coaching. We have a loan information as well. So again, thank you so much. I'm Susan Perreault, and as the director of Washington Women's Business Center at Business Impact Northwest, I want to wish you much success. And I look forward to your contacting our organization if there's anything that we can help you with. And I want to thank the Washington BizFair for this invitation. Everyone stay safe.